And that segues us to a third spot because being authentic and true to yourself, it was either our second or third conversation. We're enjoying life as far as talking about watches. We talked about cars now as well that we got to the bond over. It's amazing, as men, how we gravitate to one another the same way women will, or, both genders come together. But, there's two places on the sports field where you're often going to bond in business. And it's either going to be on the tennis court or the golf course. And back in my day, so to speak, because I believe I'm much older than you, is the tennis was the game back in the '80s, and it's still popular to this day. But golf with Tiger Woods and everything really took off. You and I bonded over tennis, out of all things, and didn't realize. But David is a very big tennis aficionado.
Huge tennis fan, like crazy.
Yeah, I love the sport. I fell in love with it from a very young age, playing it daily from a very young age for many, many years. Just love everything about it. And when you got two watch fans and then tennis, it's over. Like, it's just over.
The conversation is easy from that point forward.
So who brought you into tennis, David?
So I used to actually play table tennis competitively.
It's called ping pong, bro.
No, table tennis. You never call it ping pong. But my parents rented an apartment in Mississauga, and there was a table tennis downstairs. And I remember going swimming. I was very young. I think I was like 8 years old at this point, and I just heard this pop, 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 pop. And I would open the door and put my hand in there, and I saw like this guy just going crazy with the ball and practicing, and the consistency and keeping the ball on the table is just mind-boggling. So, this happened about 10 times where I heard, and they would practice every night. So every night as I'm going swimming and I'm going to enjoy the common amenities in the building, they're practicing, and I can hear the ball and I can hear that sound off the table. So one day I got the confidence and I walked into the room and I said, can I play with you guys? Right. And that started probably like a 12-year table tennis addiction. Right. So I played competitively. I played on the team. I got pretty good. And then I injured my shoulder. And it got to the point where
injured playing table tennis.
Okay. Yeah, I got injured, and to the point where holding a table tennis racket and making that move on the back end, still to this day, I visualize the pain that it causes me in my shoulder.
What did you do to injure the shoulder? Was it a movement, or did you bang against the table, or what happened?
After thousands and thousands and thousands of hours at a table tennis table, it's just a repetition of the movement, right? Wow. That got me injured. So I live in that same building, and I always play tennis a little bit here and there, and I picked up a tennis racket instead, probably when I was about 16, 17. And little did I know, the spin theory behind playing table tennis made me a very good tennis player, right? To the point where I could control the ball unlike any other tennis player out there. Like I just found out it was easy for me to put spin and to place the ball and to play completely differently from other tennis players out there. So and there was no pain. There was no pain when I was playing. So I found myself playing a lot of tennis and fell in love with Nadal. Like, I'm completely enamored by the guy, like his fighting spirit, the fact that he never says no and fights for every single point like it's the end of his life. And I followed him from a very, very early point in his career. I remember the first match he was playing was with Andre Agassi in Montreal. And he was like a 16-year-old kid. Like, I mean, like he had baby hair on his face, right?
Yeah.
And boy, was he bullying Agassi around. Like, he just bullied him around. And I'm like, who is this kid? And I was a big fan of Agassi at the point. So I was like, I was a little upset at this point. I'm like, who is this kid, like, pushing Andre Agassi? And I think Agassi actually lost that match. And I found myself next time I turned on and I tuned into a tennis tournament, and I saw Nadal's name. I'm like, I'm going to see how else he's playing with other players and see how else he's competing. Who else is he going to give a hard time to? And every single match I tuned into, he would win. And players were shocked. And I remember the first time he played Federer, like, what a match. I think it was like a 4-set match. Federer took a set off of him, but Nadal actually ended up beating him. And from that point onward, I was hooked. It was Agassi and Nadal. And then, of course, Agassi retired. And to this day, I was watching Nadal play Tiafoe at the U.S. Open just last night. And, what a great sportsman and never die attitude and go after every single point and very humble and just a great role model for the sport and for everybody else, I think.
I'm very scared now to tell you who my favorite tennis player is.
Nadal?
Nope. Nick Kyrgios.
Oh my God.
I love watching the guy, and I think he's very heavily misunderstood. That's one of those guys that I'm going to say $1 million body and 10-cent brain. But man, if his head was into the game, he would be the top guy. And I just love the rawness of it. When he's on, I don't think anybody can touch him. I'm like, it kind of perplexes me, I think, in that sense. Nadal, Federer, you got to hats off to them. I grew up in the era also of Agassi, Lendl, Becker, McEnroe, Connors. And one of the things my beefs with tennis, because I love tennis, is I think the equipment is too good now. Like, it's so hard to compare the generations because how do you compare the guys with the wooden rackets to what they're using now?
You can't.
Like, most of those guys, when they serve, you can't touch it. It's impossible. If Federer serves to you, I don't think you'll be able to do one hit off of it. Maybe blindly. You have to start hitting the second he's jumping up. That's how fast he is.
Yeah.
And the equipment is almost too good. I wish they'd almost scale it back and go back to wood or something a little more. But then it's more about the playmanship because, man, the equipment has really taken over. And like they're serving, 150 miles per hour? It's nuts out there.
They actually did that in table tennis. So about 5 years ago, what they did is they changed the size of the ball. They made it heavier and bigger so that it made the sport more playable, right? So they can get into longer rallies. So they,
Yes.
right? Because nobody wants to go and see a game where two players blow each other off the court and the bigger server wins. Like, to me, that's not interesting. What's interesting is, the strategy, the rallying, the athleticism of actually, two styles matching up against each other and them actually competing on styles more so than just the serve.
Did you hold the racket that style where it's like a V?
No.
Like, 'Cause I've seen like when they have like, for example, from China,
Yeah.
like the way they're holding it almost like
Yeah,
chopsticks.
it's called the pen holder grip.
That is nuts. I've tried. I can't do it.
No.
And man, they're like standing like 100 feet apart because they're just so quick. It's so impressive to watch.
Yeah, it's a fun sport. People. I wish more people got into table tennis because I think it's a great sport, great discipline, great hand-eye coordination. It's one of those sports that you can play well into your later years in your life as well, which is great. And I'm a big fan of sports like that. I think we should. Table tennis needs more attention in Canada.
David, more points in common because I had my group of friends from grade one. And I was the one that they always conglomerated at my house because I had the tennis court just down the street. And I'm the one with the table tennis at my house
Cool.
down in the basement.
Yep.
We had it all set up and we just had tournaments. And every time somebody would walk in, the first thing they would say right away, I got next game. That's all it was. We never played doubles. We just had constant tournaments. Eventually started playing for money on those, and I love the sport as well. I think it's fantastic. I appreciate pool for what it is. I got into darts as well, but there's something special about table tennis. They have now at downtown Toronto and as well in other major cities. Spin, and they have other table tennis facilities.
Spin closed down in Toronto. It broke my heart.
But another one will come up.
Well, and the concept's really fun, right? And I mean, I think, the grassroots approach to getting younger generations more involved in sports like that and make it fun and entertaining. For anybody who hasn't tried the concept of spin, comes from Vancouver. Really famous actress is actually supporting the brand. I can't remember her name off the top of my head, but it's pretty mainstream and it's a really cool concept and something fun to do if you're looking for a good night out.
So as we're finishing off this topic, I'm going to ask you what your thoughts are because if tennis and table tennis had a baby, it would be called pickleball. Have you got into pickleball yet?
I haven't. I heard about it, but I know nothing about it. I'm not going to lie.
I've watched it. It's really big out in the States. I know it started out in Florida. It was more of a seniors type thing. It's gotten very mainstream. I'm quite excited, David. I feel like I'm going to go hit a new frontier. So essentially like playing table tennis, but on a tennis court.
Okay.
So it's a different size racket, different size ball. I've been clamoring for it. I feel like this is going to be a new frontier for me. So I'm going to be investigating this whole pickleball phenomenon because I'm telling you, it's here to stay. I think that it's going to take a lot from tennis, but not in a bad way. It'll get people more interested in tennis. People, any form of tennis, whether it's table tennis, pickleball tennis, I think it's good. It's activity. You're out running,
100%.
fresh air. It's a good thing. Let's get active out there. Like I love golf. I'm not a great golfer. Love going out with the friends, but there's something different about tennis from an activity standpoint. And for anybody that has not tried this sport before and thought about it, I heavily encourage it. I love that feeling going out on the tennis court, playing an hour, 2 hours, some good rallies, learning how to serve. And like with everything else in life, if you have the means to do it, I had a bit of advantage because my parents sent me to tennis camp. So at a young age, and I learned it. I hated it. Like the idea of going to camp, I just wanted to play. But it taught me properly how to serve, how to
Right.
play, and then getting one-on-one instruction. Golf is no different. Almost any sport. Unless you had the actual education and training in it, if you go to pick it up, you'll only get to a certain point. When you get a trainer and somebody even just do 1 or 2 classes, you figure out, oh wow, I had the wrong grip. Oh wow, I've been doing it this way. I would say it gets an even closer love of the sport. So if you have the means to do it, by all means, I tell you, if you're getting into the sport or you want to refine yourself, go take a couple lessons. I think it'll really pay off.
Yeah, it's an easy sport to learn, but it could take a lifetime to master. Just like sailing, right? Sailing's the same.